All right. Okay. Starting to see a bunch of people popping on. Well, everyone, welcome to this call. I'm really excited about our call today with the amazing Sean Smith. This has been a call a long time in the works. I've wanted to interview Sean for close to about 18 months now. And just a little background on why I even know him or know about him. First of all, my best friend Tiffany Peterson talks about him all the time. So, they know each other through their work with Jack Canfield. But then shortly after that, one of my really good friends, Angela Johnson, had an event here in Salt Lake City called Ignite Your Spark. And as one of her speakers, she had Sean come and inspire. Unfortunately, I was in Hawaii on vacation with my family and I missed it and truly regretted it because, once I got home, all I heard about was how awesome Sean Smith was over and over and over again. So finally I got the guts to just reach out and say to him, hey boy, let's play, we haven't met, but we should. So I convinced him to do a joint venture and that it would be a good thing for us. So last week he hosted me to his people, and this week all of you get the good fortune of being, inspired and trained by Sean Smith. So because I wanted him to have all the time, let me go into his formal, although I wouldn't say this is that formal of a bio, Sean. But I really liked it when I read these, and it makes me laugh that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to read this. So I'm going to just introduce him with an informal bio, and then we're going to turn the time over to him. So Sean Smith is a father and husband first, speaker, coach, seminar leader second. He has an amazing wife of 14 years and 2 incredible kids that he can't say no to. He's a slowly recovering perfectionist, a world-class procrastinator, and is currently involved in an ongoing vicious battle with his inbox. Hey, we must be twins. I have that problem too.
Yeah.
He's 100% flawed. I was totally going to take this one out. I'm like, he's 100% flawed, cracked and troubled with all the same internal blocks and challenges that make us sacredly human and beautiful as humans. Unique and beautiful as humans. But Sean is completely obsessed with figuring out this game of life, how the mind works, why we hold ourselves back, and teaching anyone who will listen what he's learned along the way. So at the age of 13, he was almost killed by his next door neighbor, which taught him that none of us, no matter what our circumstances, is promised our next breath. He vowed to himself to live a life of greatness, never settling for mediocrity. Are you going to tell us that story?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, despite that promise, he still struggled for the next 20 years until he learned about the power of the subconscious mind. Sean is now a certified master results coach and founder of coachesupdate.com, where he helps new life and business coaches gain confidence and launch their message into the world. So everybody, please welcome our the amazing Sean Smith. So glad to have you here.
Ann, thank you so much. And am I coming through okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Because I'm having some technology issues on my end where I'm not able to. Okay, I think I figured it out. Sorry about this, like really smooth transition here.
It's okay.
So let's see. I started to freak out because all of a sudden it was like, hey, something got paused, and I didn't mean to pause anything. But anyway, welcome everyone, and thank you, Ann. And yeah, it has been a long time coming, and Tiffany has been wanting to introduce us for the longest time, and you were just amazing on my call a couple weeks ago. So I am thrilled with the fact that we've actually made this friendship official, and we are starting to play together. So to everyone, especially those of you who are in Ann's community, welcome. I love everything that she's doing and everything that she's about. So the people that she attracts are high quality people. You guys are all awesome by association in my book. So welcome everyone. And yeah, let's just get right into it, because I get so passionate talking about this stuff, and I could talk about this for days and days and days, and I know we only have roughly an hour. So tonight's webinar is all about coaching. It's how to build a full-time, highly lucrative speaking, coaching, and training business in the next 12 months. And when I talk about coaching, I really talk about all kinds of coaching. I think if you're a speaker, then you're a coach. If you're a trainer, then you're a coach. If you're an author, then you're a coach. There's just different ways to get your message out into the world. But at the core, we're all coaching and teaching and just helping people live better lives. So when I use the word coach, it doesn't necessarily mean professional one-on-one coaching. It means the entire scope. So coaching for me is an umbrella. And I know, many people have a transformational experience and they just want to teach other people this same, the same experiences that they went through. And first of all, I want to honor all of you for attending this webinar, but for having the desire to play that game that I just mentioned. I think coaching is the most noble thing that we can do. When you have a transformational experience in your life and you turn around and want to help other people and you want to reach out your hand and say, listen, this is what I've learned, this is what I've been through, and I want to help you shorten your learning curve, then I think that's the most noble thing we can do on the planet. Quite honestly, I think that is the universal purpose that we all have, which is to help other people and to just share our gifts with the world. I believe that every gift that we learn is not ours to keep. Whether it's a lesson that we learned out of a difficult relationship or, Ann and I have built businesses and so we teach other people how to build businesses. Whatever we've learned along the way, I don't believe it's ours to keep. So we have an obligation. I think we have a divine obligation to share what we've learned. So I just want to honor and congratulate all of you for being here because that's the magnet you were attracted to. And it's about playing together and it's about really helping people. So congratulations. And, I could have and probably should have called this webinar just how to cut through all the chaos, confusion, and clutter with a just do this approach to building and marketing your transformational coaching and speaking business the right way and getting your message out, getting your message in motion now and attracting paid clients and doing it fast, right? So that's, it's not about going the quick route and sacrificing quality, but I know we all want to get this business up and running fast. I mean, we don't have years and years and years to make this thing go. So I want to share with you what I would do if I were starting all over again to get you in motion as quickly as possible. And what we're going to do tonight, what this call is going to do is over the next little bit of time that we have together, I'll be teaching you some of the concepts that I teach to my highest level trainings. I mean, I just came back from a week in Orlando with some of my coaches teaching some of this very same stuff. I'm going to give as much as I can in this 60 minutes. And I want to teach you how to build a lucrative, sustainable, and scalable coaching business, even if you're starting from scratch. And those three words are really important. You can learn how to go make money fast, but if it's not sustainable, then your business is just going to fall down. You can learn how to make money, but if it's not scalable, then you're going to have a cap on your ceiling. And I don't know if you have this in your background, Ann, but I've sold myself as a coach for a long time and, created a good amount of income, but there's only so much of me to go around. And what I found is even though the dollar amounts were really high, it wasn't scalable. And pretty soon I started selling my freedom. I started selling the very reason I got into this business to create, which is freedom. And when you have something sustainable, foundational, scalable, you can create magic. I really do believe you can create something incredibly lucrative for yourself, but you can create something that is transformational for other people. So that's kind of the common denominator that I think we all have. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this webinar. You wouldn't be in Ann's community or my community. And here's my intention for this webinar. I just want to kind of set the groundwork here. I do not intend to overwhelm you with a bunch of confusing tactical information that says, here's how you create a social media platform, or here's how you do a video launch. Those kinds of tactical information nuggets are really, really valuable, and they're overwhelming for most people. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is I want to go deeper with just a few foundational concepts that are absolutely going to move the needle for you. These are the things that I found that are going to be critical to the long-term sustainability, scalability, and lucrative ability, if that's a word, to your business. And I think when you have the foundational concepts, when you have the right mindset, you can learn the tools. So the tools are important, but they're nowhere near as important as the foundational conceptual awareness. And that's what I really want to be teaching tonight. That doesn't mean I'm not going to give you implementable information. I hopefully will. I want to give you some things you can take and implement today if you have a coaching business already, or that can really shorten your learning curve and get you profitable faster. So there is going to be information, but more than that, there's going to be implementation concepts. And what I don't want you to do is to walk away feeling informed. You know, if you ever want to upset me, then after one of my presentations, come up to me and say, that was really informational. Like, those are almost fighting words to me, because I don't want people that are just informed. What we don't need more people that are intellectually informed in this world, especially in this industry of coaching. We need people who are ignited, right? We need people who are inspired, and we need people who are taking action. We need people who are implementing. So I don't want to be informational to you. I want to be implementational to you. And because of that, you know, I want to set some other ground rules here, and I'm going to get here in a second, but I want to ignite you. You know, like, I want to ignite your heart. I want to inspire you to just take action. I think when we're ignited, like this photo right here on the page, but we're coming from a heart-centered space, there's nothing that can stop us. But if your brain just gets full of information, you know, I hate to say it, but there's nothing that can help you if you're just driven by information at your cerebral level. So it's about igniting you from within. So you are here in the right place if you want to help people and you have that burning desire to share your message with the world. You're here if you want to be a full-time speaker and coach. You know, if you want to do this work full-time, or you are full-time and you just want to increase your earnings. Now, $100,000 is kind of this arbitrary line that most of us talk about. Truthfully, I don't really care about $100,000. Some of you might not be able to live on $100,000, but some of you could live happily and have this tremendous wealth with $50,000. So I don't know what that number is to you, but I want to help you get there and become a full-time messenger, a full-time speaker, a full-time coach, whatever that means to you, as quickly as we can. So if that's what you want, then you're in the right place. And that also doesn't mean you have to quit your job, right? Maybe you just want to implement your work into your job, but whatever full-time means to you, that's what I want to help you do. And you also have to be serious about success. And, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. That's one of the things I love about you, Ann, is you don't sugarcoat stuff. It's like, you know what, this is going to take effort. And this is, it's for people who are willing to do what it takes.
Yep,
Willing,
totally agree.
yeah, if you're willing to do what it takes to create a business, I mean, we're talking about building a business here, you guys. If you're willing to do what it takes to create a business, then let's go. But if you're the kind of person that just wants to buy a lottery ticket and hopefully this full-time business shows up in your face, I mean, I'm not the person for you. I know Ann's not the person for you, and I don't think there's anybody here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been attracted to either one of us in the first place. And I'm just going to breeze through these because I don't even think I really need to. But you're in the wrong place if you just want more information, or you're not ready to take action and implement, or you're not willing to invest the necessary time, energy, and money, which are your three investments, into building a business that lasts a really long time. I know I don't have to spend much time on that. So here's how today is going to work. This webinar, you can tell I get passionate. I talk really fast because I have just too much information to try to get out in the little time that we have. We'll be going for about 60 to 75 minutes or so. Type your questions as you think of them. There's a chat box down here that you can type into the webinar system, or you can just note them down at the end, and I will stick around for Q&A. But don't take notes on information. I will give you, at the end of the call, I will give you a way to get all of these slides. So I don't want you to get hung up. Like you know, I don't want you to be, what are those people, stenographers in the courtroom? I don't want you to be a stenographer, like, oh, I got to take down that slide. Because if you become a stenographer and you try to take down all the information you're going to have access to afterwards anyway, then it might like short circuit some of your moments of inspiration. So I want you to only take notes on your inspired moments. What are the things that you're going to do? Don't take notes on my information. Take notes on the things that my information triggers inside of you. That's the way that you're going to be able to maximize the effectiveness of this webinar, I promise you. So I just don't want you to get caught up on the information stuff, right? Stick around to the end because I'm going to share a valuable resource with you. Me and my web guy or my video guy, actually, we compiled a resource checklist on all kinds of technology things, like what are the best email systems and shopping carts to use, and video cameras and audio recording devices and conference call companies and lighting packages and editing software. A lot of the tools that create sticking points for people. We compiled a list. I think it's like 3 or 4 pages of resources so that you don't have to spend all your time searching and comparing. I'm just going to give you the things that I've used in the past and the things that I would, give anybody if I were going to start over. Like, this is the resource that I would suggest. So it's a really valuable resource. I don't get paid on any of the stuff. Like, I don't have any affiliate links or anything in that resource checklist. It's just a gift to hopefully help you, shorten your learning curve and not waste some time. So before I get into the information, I think it's really valuable for you to know just a little bit about me. That's my family, my wife Sybil, and my two joys. I mean, I'm amazed that I created these two beings. And my son Exley is in the foreground there, and my daughter McKenna is 10 years old. Exley just turned 7. And I think Ann mentioned it. I'm a husband and father first. I'm a speaker and coach second. And I'm sure most of you really follow that same kind of groundedness. It's all about family. I mean, who cares if you build a business if you sacrifice your family in the process? And I don't know what your family situation is, so that can be unique to each and every one of you. But whatever is important to you on this planet, do that, right? Don't sacrifice your values to chase success, because becoming successful is just simply not, it's not going to be fulfilling. So it's all about being fulfilling. Okay, you know what? I'm getting word from people that says that you're just seeing the get ready, that you're
Yeah.
just seeing the get ready
No, I
page. So
can
you
see
haven't
too.
seen the slides as I've been going through them?
Nope.
All right, let's try this again. Okay, do you still see the get ready, or do you see a new
I'm
slide?
only I'm only seeing the get ready still.
Oh man, I apologize. Okay, so I just stopped showing my screen. Let's try to get this back going. Thank you guys for telling me that. So let's see if you can see my screen again.
No,
Okay,
I
do you
see
see
your
my
screen.
screen now?
Yeah, I see it.
All
But
right.
yeah, I don't see
Now
the slides yet, but I see the
now
screen.
now you see
Oh
my
yeah.
a little
Yep.
bit about me?
Yep. Got it.
Okay, cool. Well, you haven't missed much. All I've been doing is talking. Like, the slides, I've just shown what I've been saying. So I apologize, but I will give you access to the whole replay information. So you see on there that it says December 17th, I was almost killed.
Yep.
Awesome. So that's really where it all began for me. I was 13 years old. I was going to school one day, and in order to avoid getting hit by a car that almost hit me on the right side, a woman who had ran through a stop sign, I swerved to avoid getting hit by her, and I pulled right out into traffic. And I pulled in front of a car that was going 50 miles an hour, and he didn't have time to stop. I mean, I just pulled right out in front of him. And it actually ended up being my next door neighbor. Um, and I shouldn't have survived that accident. If you take a look at all the details, I mean, the car just went right through me at that speed. But my life really changed lanes that day. I noticed, or I learned, that we all have one shot on this planet. No matter where we are, no matter what's going on in our life, we have one chance. And so I really, viewed life through a mortal set of lenses for the first time. And it was probably the biggest gift I've ever been given, is the gift of realizing that life can end, and it can end in any moment without warning. And so I just made a decision in that moment that I was going to do anything I possibly can to live a life of greatness, right? And not settle for mediocrity. But even though I made that choice to myself, for the next 20 years, I just beat my head up against the wall. I wasn't achieving anything that I really thought I could achieve, and my highest goals. And so I really was living a life of mediocrity, even though I didn't want to, right? And I'm sure most people have made some kind of promise like that to themselves. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. And just to check in, you now see the next bullet point, right? My mission.
I do.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So my mission became to just share my message with people. My mission is to empower people to live lives of passion and purpose and presence. And I think that's what we're all here to do. I don't know any one of your details, but I know that we all have something that's been, input into us, into our DNA by our creators. I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are, religious beliefs are, but I believe that we all have a unique obligation that we were sent here to fulfill. And this is mine, to empower people to live lives of passion, purpose, and presence. And so a few years back, and I'll tell a little bit more of the details in a moment, but a few years back, I decided that I wanted to be a coach and I wanted to be a speaker. And I didn't know what I was getting into, but I just wanted to go out and share my message with the world. And I did a lot of things right and I did a lot of things wrong. Over the course of all those mistakes, I mean, we did pretty well. And I'll share numbers openly and honestly with anybody because I want to live in a glass house when it comes to my business because I think that's the only way I can really help you. I'm not one of those people who are going to sugarcoat numbers and tell you that, I've put $1.2 million into my bank account because I haven't. But I will tell you the mistakes that I've made. I'll tell you the gross earnings that we've, that have come through our business. I'll tell you what my expenses are. Like I'm really open with money because I think money is a taboo out there in the world today. And I think it actually perpetuates the problem. I think too many people are focused on money. And as soon as you stop focusing on money, I think money will start to knock you down. So I'm going to tell you things just from a glass house perspective, truly not to try to impress you. And one of the reasons that I can tell you these numbers is I really don't care about them. I mean, I didn't even know that we made $1.2 million until I was putting these slides together, honestly. A few months ago, I was like, holy cow, I didn't know we'd even crossed the $1 million mark because it's not something that I track. I don't care. But it is where I've been. So I want you to know what I've done. I want you to know where I've come from, how I can help you. And there are certain things that I can't help you with. But I just want you to know as much about me as possible. So this is not like an ego bullet right there at all, because it's all about the mistakes that I've made, truly. Um, and you know what? I just want to tell you a little bit about where I've been over the last year and a half. In the last year and a half, both my parents have passed away. And my mom died about 4 months ago in May. And I just learned so much about life, about my parenting with my children, but about forgiveness, about unconditional acceptance and support. And that's really what my mom taught me is unconditional support because I pushed that poor woman's buttons my entire life, and every time I did, she would always just be there with open arms and love me anyway and support me anyway, no matter what I did. And I was blessed to have a really healing conversation with her about 4 years ago, and our relationship totally shifted. But every time I do my work, like she was my biggest supporter in this work. She used to stalk me on Facebook. If any of you have been a Facebook fan of mine for more than 6 months, every post I had my mom's post on it, right? But it was really cool that she just had that support in this world. So my mom is a very special trigger to me, especially in my work. Now my dad, was my best friend. And I've never been mad at this man. And I think that says a lot about who he is and who he raised me to be. And he passed away from pancreatic cancer about a year and a half ago. And that by itself is a whole story. It's a whole 60-minute story by itself in terms of all the lessons that I've learned. And we don't have time for me to tell you the whole story. But I learned so much about life from him. And just a fantastic man, just the best guy I know. And my dad lived with me for the last 80 days of his life. He was in a hospital bed in my living room, actually, as he was going through chemotherapy. Um, and I had a final conversation with him that was just so beautiful and so healing for me. And our last words, I told him how much he meant to me, and I told him how much I loved him and how much he meant to everybody else. And I just said, because I knew he was going to die in a matter of hours, probably. And I just said, Dad, how can I live your legacy and how can I make you proud when you're gone? And he just shook his head like I'd asked a silly question. And he goes, Shawnee, just be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. And those words were so powerful because it was just about being here. It wasn't about trying to impress people. It wasn't about trying to make money. It was just be you. And that's really who my dad was. And he imparted a lot of that in me my entire life. But those words have become like my mission statement. I mean, the core of my company is that it's be, do, live. I actually got a personalized license plate. That's my car. And it reminds me every day, just be, do, and live. And that's at the core of my message. And I think that's really what we need to help people do, is just live a good life, whatever that means to them. I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in the doingness, or how much money can we make, or, how many goals can we achieve. And I believe at the end of our life, it's not going to be how much money we collected, how many goals we achieved. I think at the end of our life, we're just going to look back and say, did we go for it? Not did we get it, but did we go for it? Can we look ourselves in the mirror with pride and say, I did my best. I went for it. And if you can do that, then I believe you're going to be happy in looking back at your life. But if you can't say that, if you look back with regret, I don't know how those moments are going to be. And I think my mom and dad went through some of those as I kind of watched them in their final phases of living a life of regret. And I don't want that for anybody. So my part of my mission is to give people the empowerment, the awareness, the motivation, the inspiration, whatever you want to call it, to just go for it. Whatever that means to you, go for it, because that's what you're here to do. So I think I pretty much already said this. I'm here today to really hold a space open for you to bet on yourself and get into a good fight for all your goals and dreams, and to go for it and to play a bigger game. And I'm on a mission. I want to start a revolution in the coaching world. I want to create 1,000 full-time, highly successful coaches. Whatever that means to you, and I know that's a big game, but the world needs people who are going to help other people. I really see coaches as I said, the most noble profession out there, because we're helping people heal their relationships with themselves. We're helping people heal their relationships with their children. We're helping people in whatever way you help them. We're helping people transform their lives. And sometimes that is helping them make more money so they can stay home with their kids and heal their relationship that way. Sometimes it's doing the inner work. I don't know what it is for you, but I know you have a message inside of you, and I know the world needs that message. And there are people out there who need you to get in the ring and get into a good fight, not just for you, but for them, right? So that's the mission that I'm on. But I also know that there's a problem in this industry. And from my vantage point, here's the problem. I think most people want to get into this game to change lives, but at least 95% of them never get their business going. And I think that's a stat that is across the board for all businesses, but the coaching industry is no different. And it might actually be a little bit higher than that. But we need people who have a message to not get stuck with all of the problems, all of the fears, all the stuff that causes most people to never get their business going off the ground, right? And most people just get stuck in that quicksand. They're learning all these advanced tactics. They're being scared by technology. And there's just so many sticking points and quitting points that people fall prey to. And the big loss there is that your message will die inside of you. And that's what I think is the bigger problem, is that it's not that you don't make your money. It's not that you don't create the business that you want. It's that whoever's out there desperately seeking the message you have is not going to get it. And your message dies inside of you, and they don't get help. I call these people your seekers. Your seekers don't get help. And either you or your seekers end up quitting, you lick your wounds, you retreat back to a life of whatever settling looks like for you. And I'm here to change that, and I know that's a big flag to put in the ground, but I'm willing to lead that charge. And I want people that want to play that kind of game. And my biggest message to you before we get into any of the stuff is that you can absolutely do this. If you don't believe you can do this, then there's not much I can teach you. You have to believe that you can do this, right? If you know that you can do this, and if you need to borrow my belief or you need to borrow Ann's belief, then borrow it. I don't want you to get stuck on any of your self-limiting beliefs, but you have to believe that you can do this. I will stand up and advocate for you. I will stand up and fight for you, because it is possible to create this kind of living. It is possible to help other people to make whatever money you would need to actually do this full time or to just supplement whatever you're doing, but not when the odds are stacked against you, right? When the odds are stacked in your favor, it makes it a heck of a lot easier. And you need to have the right tools, you need to have the right guidance, you need to have the right preparation. And the bottom line is, if you're prepared enough, if you're prepared enough, and you know what's going to come, then there's nothing that you can't do. And sometimes you might need a toilet strap to you. Sorry if this is too vulgar for some of you, but I mean, sometimes we need to know what's going to happen when we jump out of that plane, right? And I know that's where Ann and I share a lot of commonality, is that we want to tell people reality. Here's the reality, right? The reality is you're going to fall down. The reality is you're going to get some bumps and bruises. The reality is there are some speed bumps along the way. And I know, Ann, I know you believe this too. I'm not the guy that's ever going to tell you it's going to be easy and you're not going to fall down. I'm the guy that's going to say it might be challenging, but you're worth it. Your mission is worth it, and I will be there to help pick you up when you
Right.
fall.
And I do have to say one thing, because I know I have a lot of my certified coaches on the call. Even though you're writing the ideal in your life vision, it's not going to turn out exactly that way. I mean, we're not writing all the bumps and bruises in the life vision. We're creating the ideal, but it doesn't play out exactly like that. So just had that thought and had to throw it in there.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And as you were talking, I got a message from somebody that said the place with the largest number of dreams is the graveyard.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, so many people, die with their lives or with their music yet to be played, with, the unspent potential. And I just think we owe it to the world to not be one of those people. So I want to spend just a couple minutes and teach you how I got my start in this game. And I think this will help. One of the questions that I think Susan or one of the listeners asked at the beginning was, like, how can I get started? And I think in this industry, what happens a lot is people hear the sexy stories about, hey, I just made $100,000 in 12 days because I did this whatever, I did this launch or I did this program, and people say, here, I just made $100,000 last year or whatever. But I think we do a disservice to people if we don't tell them our kindergarten stories, because most people can't relate to the high school stories or even the elementary school stories if they're in kindergarten. And I'm not saying that with any kind of values judgment on anybody, but what I know is that it really helps me to hear the stories of how people actually got started, so that you don't think that, that Ann and I didn't have any challenges in the beginning, and that it was just all, hunky dory from the get-go, and we just turned our business on and all of a sudden people started paying us. That's not how it worked. And I think when you understand those earlier days stories, then I think it'll help you take the pressure off yourself. Because I don't want you to think that you're just going to get a website or you're just going to create a program and people are going to buy it. I mean, that's just not reality, right? So the way I got started in my game is I attended a college speaking success boot camp back in January of 2005 when I knew I wanted to be a speaker. And it kind of lit a fire under me, although I didn't go home and implement anything. Then in August of 2005, I went to Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success seminar, and that's where things really started to change for me. I had a lot of internal breakthroughs. If you're not familiar with Jack Canfield, I highly suggest all of you get familiar with him. He's got a book called The Success Principles that I think is like the Bible for personal development. I really love Jack. And then in November of 2005, I was at another event, and that's where I had my really big breakthrough. I had this belief conflict inside of me called I'm not good enough, and it came out at that event. And there was a business coach in the room that did a process on me that helped me identify where this big anchor was in my life. It's like I was trying to drive a boat, but I didn't realize there was this big anchor at the bottom of the seafloor, so I couldn't go anywhere because the anchor wouldn't let me go anywhere. So I was at this event, and there was a life coach in the room, and he helped me identify what it was, and he helped me get rid of it. And when I got done with this process, which was like a 20-minute process, my whole life changed. I mean, it was like a rebirth, and I felt 50 pounds lighter. And later on, I emailed this guy, and I said, Matt, pardon the French, but I said, what the hell was that? And was that legal? And really, I don't care if it was. Where do I get that? Because I was just so incredibly changed from the inside out. And people were saying, "Who are you? What happened to you? Did you lose weight? Did you cut your hair? Did you get your teeth whitened? Like, what's going on, man? Because you're just different." And they couldn't quantify it. It wasn't measurable. So I just asked him what that was. And that started my journey into coaching. So I went and got some coaching certifications. I decided I wanted to do my own event, and it was how to maximize your athletic ability in February of 2006. I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach athletes how to visualize and how to set goals and stuff. And it was at that event that a lot of Mary Kay ladies showed up. They didn't know me, but they just showed up at my event, and they saw a flyer and they showed up. And a few months later, I did one of their events, and that's when my business really started to take off. Now, let me back up and say, in 2005, before I started to do my own events, like this was an official event in February at a hotel. Before I was doing that, and this is what I was sharing with the caller earlier, I was going to Kiwanis clubs, and I was going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, and I was going to networking meetings, and I was speaking for free everywhere and anywhere that I could. I just wanted to talk, and I think that's really important for us to do, is just get out there, get some exposure, and get referrals. Because what almost always happened is somebody in the crowd that I spoke to, whether it was a group of 10 or a group of 50, had an idea for me to follow up with somebody else. And so it's really important in the beginning that you just get out there. And I think that most of us, well, this is my experience, most of us are going to find this point where it just all kind of clicks. And I'll have a slide on that a little bit later, but before you get to that point where it clicks, you've got to just get out there and do stuff and talk to people and do teleseminars and, attend events and just do everything you can to get your message out there. I think you should be willing to speak for free when it makes sense. There are ways to make it valuable for you too. Like you can record the event, or you can have somebody else film it so that you have some speaking footage of you. There's trade-offs that you can make. You can barter. You can speak for free, and you get whatever service that they have for free. So there's a lot of ways you can do it so that you're not just out your time and your money. But I just think you've got to get out there, and then you're going to find something that clicks. For me, it was in the middle of 2006 where it just clicked for me, and I found this crowd in the Mary Kay world that just loved what I had to say, and I loved who they were. And so in February of 2000, or in January of 2007, I really started to focus on the Mary Kay crowd. And I created a really cool brand in that community. I was the Pink Caddy coach because all of them want to drive pink Cadillacs. I had a seminar called Pink Caddy University. And I just got really, really clear on who I was and what my message was and who I could serve. And so that's what I call the good decision. And it was in January of 2007 that we made over $300,000. And it was really between April and December of 2007 that I really got clear and started to put the pedal to the metal. Most people want to get there right away, and some people can get there right away. But I'll tell you what, I made over $300,000 in 10 months, but that was 2 years worth of work, right? And it was like it was a 2-year overnight success, and so too many people focus on the overnight success. And I just want you to know there's a backstory to everybody's business. I don't know hardly anybody that doesn't have a story of struggle. And if you understand that there's efforts that you need to put in before you just hit the jackpot, then I think you're going to be prepared. Because I don't want any of you to have this expectation like I'm just going to turn my business on, get a website, and it's going to be awesome. I mean, hopefully it will. I wish that for all of you. But that's not going to be the reality on, for most people. So anyway.
Yeah, so let me jump in here and just validate
sure.
that. Almost the same thing for me. I mean, it was about 2 years before, I felt like I was really making some money. And I mean, I was making money, but before I was making some decent money, that kind of thing. So how long did it take you to find this niche, or the Mary Kay thing? I mean, how long did you ponder that? Were you looking for it, or did it find you? Because that's one thing I talk with my coaches about is I mean, a lot of them think, they're going to build this website and within 3 months they're going to be making 100,000 and they should know their niche within a week and that kind of thing. But it
Yeah.
definitely is a process. So tell us a little bit more about like how long it took you. Did you go back and forth or was it just it found you?
Yeah, I actually resisted it. When they showed up at my athletic event, they said, "Can you come teach this to us?" And I was like, "Absolutely not! I don't want to teach women how to sell lipstick. That's not what I want to do. I want to teach athletes how to set goals and stuff." So not only did I not look for it, I resisted it from the beginning. And I love what you said, that this is a process, and that's why I'm going through a lot of this background, because I think too many people just want to jump to the tools right away. They just want to like get into elementary school, but they haven't passed kindergarten. They haven't done the foundational steps, or they don't have the awareness. So I think this is honestly, Anne, I think this is the most important conversation that people need to have before they learn, okay, what is the stuff that I actually have to do? Right.
Right.
So, I mean, that's
No,
why we're
and I
spending so much
agree.
time on
And I'm glad you're saying this because I'm actually feeling a little bit better. When I do my certification for Ideal Life Vision, the very first class, I say it's kind of a longer intro, guys, than I normally do, but I need to tell you my journey about my coaching because you need to know that I didn't just I mean, my original story with Life Vision, which you heard a couple weeks ago, was kind of my whole journey to using Life Vision. But then there's a whole second piece of how I use that to create the second business. And I think it is important that people hear it because I shifted my, who I was working with multiple times. There was even a time at year one that I like totally fell off the wagon and I said, it was my husband was doing well financially and I just said, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd go, should I work my butt off today or should I go to lunch with my friends? Because I
it.
certainly don't have to work. And that the lunch won out almost for a year until I changed someone's life and I mean, absolutely changed their life. And I said, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm not going to goof around anymore. And I got more
Exactly.
serious. But I mean, most people don't know that story, but I worked hard for a year and then I fell off the wagon for a year too.
Right.
So,
And people need, yeah, they need to hear that story. So anyway, I'm going to go through this part relatively quick because I know we've been on the line for a while here. In 2008, I made a horrific decision, which is where I stopped serving that community and I opened my business up to people in general. And I got really vague, and we just crashed for the next 2 years. We ended up filing bankruptcy in 2009 because we had built up this huge business with a lot of expenses. We had $30,000 in expenses some months, and we created this. I mean, our ship just started sinking, and I share that story also because I have learned more valuable lessons in 2008 and 2009 when I was in total panic mode than anything I learned in 2006 and 2007. So that's where the real value actually comes in. And then we started to kind of right the ship, and I've been involved in Jack's Train the Trainer program over the last 3 years. And that's when I realized how many people have a desire to build this business, but they don't really know what to do in the beginning. So a lot of people come out of that program, and I'm not saying anything negative about Jack's program. This is with just any business in general, but definitely in the coaching industry, a lot of people make a decision, but they really don't know the first steps. And that's what I'm most passionate about, is helping people with the very first steps. So I want to share with you some of the most common reasons for failure. And I've probably touched on a lot of these, so I'm going to go through these probably relatively quickly. A lot of people who are drawn to the world of coaching are simply repelled by the idea of sales and marketing. Like helping people and selling to people are just two different ends of the spectrum. So right out of the gate, a lot of people are not, in the right place to serve others. Most people try to invent the wheel by just doing it on their own. I'll talk more about that. They get stuck collecting information, but they don't implement with like technology systems and so forth. I think a lot of people have uncertainty. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know. They just don't have the certainty. And if they don't have the certainty in what to do or say, and they don't have the certainty in themselves, then they won't be attractive to people. certainty is attractive. Uncertainty is repulsive, and it repels people. So I think we have to have certainty. Next thing is overwhelm. I think a lot of people deal with that, obviously. And then finally, these inner game obstacles. What really stops a lot of people is their fears, their doubts, their limiting beliefs about themselves, and the uncertainty and the overwhelm about not having an exact idea of what to do just feeds into all of those fears and all of those doubts. But let me tell you specifically what my most painful and expensive mistakes are. And I got to tell you, more than anything, more than this entire presentation, this is my most valuable slide. If you can avoid some of these mistakes that I've made, mistakes that Ann has made, I think that's more valuable than learning the things that worked, to be quite honest, because it's the mistakes that you don't avoid that kills your business. It's the the $10,000 mistakes. I've made $50,000 mistakes. I'm sure you have too. It's those mistakes that ruin people's business. So I really truly believe this is my most valuable information. That's why I want to share it with you. I mentioned that I stopped serving an individual seeker. Markets don't buy things. Groups of people don't buy things. Individual people buy things. And so when we when we write an email, when we create a website, when we do a video, we have to serve an individual person. And that might not make a whole lot of sense, but if any of you have been in this game for a while, then that might be the biggest aha. This was one of the biggest ahas I had, and this is what caused my bankruptcy, is because I stopped serving a single person and I tried to serve the masses. And as soon as I started serving the masses, I couldn't serve anybody because my message was too vague. Nobody really cared. I wasn't speaking their language and so forth. Also, in 2008, I changed too many variables at once. There's so many variables in this game. When you make a change one or two variables at a time. I changed my entire business plan, my focus, my prices. I changed everything. And so when stuff started to fall down, I didn't have anything to fall back on. So part of this game is test and tweak, but you have to do it cautiously and you have to do it strategically. The other thing that I did is when my income took a nosedive, I retreated. The best analogy that I have is that when my boat started to sink, I tried to fill the holes in the leaking boat, and I took a bucket and I tried to get all the water out of the boat instead of rowing. I stopped rowing. And when stuff starts to fall down for us, we have to stay aggressive on some level. We have to keep going instead of retreating. And I think that's the natural thing that most people do is retreat. The other thing is I unplugged from all my support team. I fired my coaches. I stopped doing accountability. I got rid of my mastermind group, and we need to have a support system that we can plug into. And finally, I went into a market that I was totally unprepared for and unfamiliar with. I didn't do the research. I didn't really find out who my seeker was. And that's going to make so much sense here in a moment. But these are my 5 most painful, most expensive mistakes. If you can avoid those, then everything that I've given you, this will be your most valuable resource, I believe. I think that's where I've really earned, my expertise, I guess, in all of that. So I'm going to skip this slide because I want to get to the 3 transformations that we all need to make. And again, these are conceptual transformations. The details in your individual coaching business might be different because if you're a healer that teaches people how to heal their wounds internally, you might do this one way. If you're somebody who teaches people how to make money in the stock market, you might do these a different way. So I will never give like a cookie cutter approach that's going to work for everybody, but it's the conceptual game that you really have to win. So it's a transformation from working forwards to working backwards. And I'm going to explain each of these transformations in a little more detail. It's the branding strategy, it's your product creation, it's your campaign design. The second transformation is from do it yourself to done for you. And again, I'm going to explain all that with everything, websites, autoresponders, everything. And here's the biggest shift for me, Ann, is going from chasing and selling to attracting and serving. It's just such an easier game to play, and it's all about creating more automation. So let me dive deeper into these transformations. Working forwards, what most coaches intuitively do is they go forwards. They have the next step thinking, right? It's like, what's the next product that I should make and who should I sell it to and What should I call it? They just focus on the very next step, but they don't have an end in mind focus. And I think you need an end in mind thinking, and then you work backwards. So what's the bigger purpose that you want to serve, and what's the community that you want to build, and where do you want to be in 5 years from now? Where do you want to be in 2 years from now? And work backwards. When you do that, your next step becomes illuminated rather than you having to figure out what your next step is. And that has completely changed the game for me. And so you want to ask questions like, where do I want my customers to ultimately end up? And if I want them to be here in 2 months from now, then where do I need to help them get in 1 month from now? If I want my customers at the end of a presentation, like a 4-hour workshop, if I want them to take the next step with me, and that is a teleseminar series, or if that is private coaching, whatever that is, where do they have to be in after 4 hours? Like, what do they have to know? What's some of the tension that has to be created? When you reverse engineer everything in your business, this game is so much easier than when you have the next step thinking. And I lived that way for about 6 years of my business. And that's why I can speak from experience. I mean, that's one of the reasons that caused that bankruptcy. So it's all about having the end in mind and reversing it. And then your next step shows up. If you want to know what the next thing is that you should offer, work it backwards, right? And get in tune with what they want. Like, what do they want to have solved? What would they want to buy? I'm telling you, this is the biggest shift for most people. And then this game actually becomes really easy when you do it that way. Your marketing will create itself. All the answers will be found when you work backwards, and you work backwards from your seeker's perspective. And I think I have a slide that I'm going to explain that a little bit more in detail. But let me give you an example. The traditional product funnel in this game is usually something like you have a free ebook, you have articles, you have a video series, you have a special report, you have a way to attract people into your community, and then you give them something relatively cheap, right? You give them a book or an ebook or an audio CD or something like that, a really simple product that they can pay something small for. And then the next tier is a little bit of a higher price product. It could be a teleseminar series or some seminar that you're selling. And again, these numbers are arbitrary, but each of us usually have a 5 or 6 tiers in our business. And then you have maybe a multimedia home study program or whatever that next tier is for you. Maybe you have a group coaching program, a little bit higher price. And then ultimately you've got some sort of mastermind program or some kind of private coaching or what have you. This is the way the industry has generally taught. And there's nothing wrong with the premise that this is created on. It's about creating trust for people, and it's about letting them test, try before they buy sort of thing, and helping them take one step at a time. And each step is a little bit further. There's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is, in today's world, this takes a heck of a lot of time. And if you want to get profitable fast, this is not the best way to do it. So if you want to get profitable quickly, it's actually the exact opposite of this. It's not, sorry, I tried to get real cute with my animation here. It's not the free stuff, and it's not the tiers. It's how quickly can you serve people intimately. And to be honest, getting profitable quickly, the easiest way to do that is to offer a higher price program. Now, I'm not saying that all of a sudden everybody out here could just say, hey, I've got this coaching program and it costs $2,000. I'm not saying that this is something that you can do tomorrow if you're brand new in the game. But what I'm telling you is it's actually easier to sell higher price programs than it is to sell lower price programs. It's actually easier to design higher price programs than it is to design lower price programs. It's easier to attract better quality people with higher price programs than lower price programs. Most people don't believe that's true, and most people want to just take they want to get into the pool in the shallow end, and they want to take the next step. Okay, my next step is this, and they want to enter the pool in the steps. But I'll tell you guys, I've found that the best way to do it is just jump in the deep end, and you have to do some research for sure. You have to create value for these people. But most people, if you do the free ebook game, which leads to a $10 sale, there's so much that you have to put into that system. it's going to take a long time for a lot of people. There's a lot more sticking points. And the bottom line is, like, if I had a gun to my head and I needed to create a lot of money now, or if one of my clients had a gun to their head and they needed to make $2,000 by the end of tonight, it certainly wouldn't be by selling an ebook, because there's just way too much that has to happen before they make that process. But people can get into a conversation with somebody that they know they can help and offer a coaching program if you had to. Now, I know that's not why you're going to build your business, is just about how can I make money fast, but that's the reality. And so I just want to throw that out there. Now, I'm also not saying you have to go to the other end of the spectrum and just sell private coaching right out of the gate, but I want you to challenge the traditional funnels that you've seen out there, because for most of you, I would say that funnel that I put up on the screen is not your best funnel. It wouldn't be best for you to build a sustainable, substantial business. It wouldn't be best for you to position yourself as an expert. It wouldn't be best for you to get profitable quickly. So I just want you to challenge everything, including everything that I'm saying today. I mean, challenge it and make sure that that everything that I'm saying even fits for you, right? But I just don't want you to just follow a cookie cutter, one size fits all approach.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and just say that I totally agree with that. I know when my coaches are ready and they're, thinking about all this, oh, I need to get a webmaster and I need to do all this stuff. I'm like, look, you need a phone, you need a computer, you might need a cheap business card, and you need to call people and you need to get those first clients, because we need to get you making some money first.
Yes.
Because that's the money that you make on those first clients is what's going to maybe ultimately pay down the road for that, opt-in and the website and the webmaster that's going to build all that. But that's not where you start unless you want to get overwhelmed and buried in debt.
Yep. Thank you. I'm so glad that you believe that same thing, and you've already been teaching that, because following the traditional kind of intuitional ways will do exactly what you said. It'll be overwhelming. There's too many sticking points. And the bottom line is, I love, when people have the first anything. I love when people have their very first client, when they have the first website, when they capture their first lead, when they get their first product. I mean, there's something really powerful to actually making making traction. And I know people that have been studying marketing, getting certifications, for 3 years, and they still don't have their first client. And all that's doing is delaying success. And as much as that is really scary for a lot of people to hear and digest, it's actually way easier. So I'm really glad that you have that same thought and you have that same experience, because that's what it's about. And like you said, it's about, having money coming in. So because we're in business, right? The reason none of us are going to build this business to make money, but we're in business, which means we need to make money. I mean, that is a business principle that we have to take care of. And in the early phases of your business, you want to get profits coming in so that you can reinvest.
And those first two clients are the fastest way to get to that certainty than anything else as well.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I love that. And this is kind of an aside, but speaking of money and speaking of investing, I think what a lot of people do is they invest in the tools and they invest in the shiny new thing. But I think, and I would imagine you agree with this too, Ann, I think the best things you can invest in is yourself, and invest in support, because the tools will come. But if you don't have a support system, you don't have, the tools internally to withstand the doubts and the fears and all that stuff, then, I mean, you're just going to lose this game. But you're going to lose any game that requires you to stand up on your own. So that's the foundational awareness that I think you have to do. The other thing is, nowadays, especially with technology, I'm a big believer in, just get it done for you. I mean, I just paid a big amount of money yesterday to somebody who's just going to put all my social media stuff together for me. I could figure it all out, but there's something really valuable in just getting it done for you. And a lot of people spend their time and spend their energy because they don't want to spend the money, or they for whatever reason they want to do it on their own. And I'm going to tell you, whether you go forward with me or you go forward with Ann or whatever, invest in time-saving resources, and invest in resources that are not going to call for you to make yourself go crazy. I mean, I remember I spent 2 days full-time, myself and my business partner, so 2 people full-time, trying to put up one website. And we spent about 30 hours combined trying to get a website up. There's so much behind the scenes that we just didn't understand that we were getting into. And most people either don't have that time or, they would just quit. There's just too many sticking points. So whatever that means for you is going to be, unique and variable for each and every one of you. But invest in resources that are going to save you time. But I also want you to be skeptical, because I think that's healthy. A lot of times done for you, because done for you is a marketing phrase. People know that that's what people want to buy. They just want a system that they can turn a key on and it runs. And I'll tell you that most of the time, well, at least some of the times, that's BS, because it takes effort. You have to customize whatever it is that you're doing, especially in this business. There's always going to be work to do. But there are things that you can take off of your plate, and you can remove a lot of that irritation, right? And what's usually missing in this industry is the technology piece of some kind of like just do this approach. It's a framework. And obviously this is what I aim to fix, because this is what I think is missing in the industry, and the tools that are necessary. The other thing in this industry is we get a lot of information, but if you don't implement, then it really doesn't matter. And actually, I think I just kind of gave away my punchline here. The three biggest, most important concepts of your business growth are implementation, implementation, and implementation. I mean, it doesn't matter what you learn. If you don't implement, then the knowledge is useless. Like, information has a very short shelf life. And if you don't learn what it is that or if you don't implement rather what it is that you learned, then it doesn't matter. So this is going to be different for each of you, but you have to figure out what will help you implement the fastest. If that means hiring a personal coach, do it. It's worth it. If that means hiring somebody to do your website, do it. It's worth it. If you're the kind of person that wants to know this stuff and that's going to help you implement it, then do it. It's worth it. I can't tell you what that looks like for you, but I want you to get to implementation as fast as possible. Don't get stuck on the sidelines just, getting ready to get ready. And that's where a lot of people are. So you get to decide what that looks like for you, but implement as fast as you can. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in any knowledge if you're not going to implement? So what part of my goal is, and this is what I want your goal to be, is to remove as many quitting points as possible. I think there's just so many quitting points. I have this analogy where we get all excited and we start to run into the ocean. And I think most of us have probably run into the waves of the ocean, and we get all excited, but pretty soon the waves hit us. And as the waves are hitting us, it's just causing us to slow down more and more and more. And all of those waves that keep coming and coming and coming are quitting points for most of us that are building our business. And it could just be a technology thing that doesn't go right. It could be this overwhelm that you have internally. It could be this fear of getting up and speaking in front of people. I mean, there's just so many quitting points that we have. So your mission should be to remove as many of those as possible, however that looks like to you. Because if you just have to fight against all these quitting points, one of two things are usually going to happen. You're either going to succumb to all the quitting points and you will quit, or you'll just take way longer than you could have. So whatever that means to you, remove them, whether it's technology nightmares, it's testing all the variables, it's optimizing your marketing systems. And just remove those quitting points as much as possible, because those are the things that lead to the questions, that lead to the fears, that lead to the doubts, that lead to the uncertainty, that lead to the problems getting, profitable in the beginning and so forth. So that's been one of my biggest lessons as well, is how many times I've pushed through quitting points and then I decide not to do something, or it just took way longer than it could have been. But here's the great news. It's all been figured out, right? The mistakes have already been made. The money has already been paid. The tracks have already been laid. And I want you to adopt whatever resources you can that will help you, in your journey, whatever that looks like for you. So here's the decision. The decision is you can either build the boat, and a lot of times people are trying to build the boat while they're swimming in the ocean, or sometimes you just buy the boat, right? You get something that's already up. And I know, that's part of Ann's mission, is let's just shorten your learning curve as best you possibly can. And that's my mission really in the coaching world. So this last transformation here, And this is huge. This will change the entire game. It'll change the way you interact with people on social media. It'll change everything. When you stop chasing people and selling, and you start attracting people and serving. And what I mean by that is most coaches are doing the running. Most coaches are doing the chasing. And it's usually coming from a me perspective. This is what I've learned. This is who I am. Let me try to impress you. Let me try to sell you my services. Let me try to sell you my thing instead of a we perspective. And this is a small shift, but it makes all the difference in the world. It's all about who am I trying to serve and how can I help you? And this might sound kind of airy-fairy, sort of pie in the sky or whatever you want to call it, but I'm telling you that energy shift can be felt with people. When you reach out to your crowd and say, hey, listen, what can I help you do? How can I serve you? How can I help you? I don't know what you want. How can I help you? When you create that kind of engagement with your crowd, everything changes because they will tell you what they want. They will tell you what they'll pay for. They will tell you what is missing from their perspective. And it's so much easier to do it that way. And instead of selling what you want to teach, you'll start teaching what they want to learn. And that is so critical. I mean, I don't know if any of you just had sort of like an energetic shift, but even when I just said that, I felt my shoulders just like go down because when most people think about who am I, what do I have to offer, what do I have to teach, all of their fears kick in. Like, who am I? I'm nobody. Who am I to teach people? But when people start thinking about who has problems out there that I can help, immediately we step into a place of service. And right away, it's like, oh, I can help them with this problem. I can help them because I've been there. I've done that. And when you show up to serve, it's so much easier. I've met so many people who have a fear of speaking. They have a fear of networking. They have a fear of selling. They have a fear of marketing. I've never met a single person who has a fear of serving, ever. We don't. So when your whole business is about serving people and teaching them what they want to learn, the whole game changes, I promise you. And like, for instance, in my world, I ask coaches all the time, what's the thing that you just want? And what they usually say is, I just want somebody to do the marketing for me so I can do what I want to do, what I love to do, so I can teach and I can speak and I can coach. You want to find your I just want in your marketplace, whatever that looks like. And you also want to find your I just want. And if you just want to teach and speak, then you should not be doing anything that poisons your energy while you're doing those things. And what I mean by that is if you're creating frustration because you're doing all your booking, you're doing all of your calendars, you are booking everybody's appointments. If you are putting up your websites, if you are doing the things that create irritation in you, you're poisoning your genius. You're poisoning your core ability. You're poisoning that thing that makes you come alive. Now, whatever that looks like to you, whether it's hiring a virtual assistant or bringing on a business partner, or I don't know what that means, but if you're doing things that you really truly don't like doing, you despise, or you're afraid of, then you are muting your genius. You're muting your gifts. You're putting a wet blanket on what you're here to do in the world, and that's incongruent. So so many people, because they don't want to spend the time, they don't want to spend the money, or they just don't know what to do. So many people are doing things that don't make them come alive, and that energy shows. It's a conflict, right? It's most people are doing things that they hate or they loathe, and it's about doing what you love to do. Because when you just become alive in everything that you do in your business, you will start attracting people in such a different way. Now, that might be a phasing out system. I'm not saying immediately tomorrow you don't do anything that you don't like doing, but at least get yourself on a plan where you're going to phase out the things that you really don't enjoy, right? So again, whatever that looks like to you could be different for each and every one of you, but you owe it to yourself to clear that energetic conflict because it won't help you serve people, right? So anyway, yeah, like I said, don't do the things that you don't enjoy and don't do the things you don't know how to do because you're stifling your effectiveness in the other area of your business. And just because you are a solopreneur doesn't mean you have to do everything on your own. That's one of the death sentences that most people put themselves in. And that's, that's terrible. And that's like, Ann and I talked about getting some profit fast in your business. One of the things that I think you should do when you get some of that profit in your business is free yourself up from some of those things that you don't enjoy doing and give yourself that gift of just being on purpose with almost everything that you do. That's one of the reasons to become profitable, so that you can reinvest into your freedom and into the quality of your business. And I guarantee you there'll be a huge ROI on that, because the more that you do things that make you come alive, the more people that you're going to attract. Now, I have 3 simple steps to a massively successful business. And this is going to help you make the shift. Now, there are no tactics here. These are conceptual steps, but each and every one of you can do this. And the first step is to clarify who your seeker is. Who is that individual person that is desperately seeking the knowledge that you have in your mind? Now, I just did an 1.5-hour call on this one concept, so I can't fully explain this concept here. But a lot of people resist this. But here's what I'll tell you. When you are speaking to a single person, your language will be more magnetic. You will have more certainty in your voice. Everything you say and do will be more clear. It'll be more attractive. And when you're speaking to one person, you will attract a lot more than that one person. But when you're trying to speak to a bunch of people at once, your message will be less attractive. It will be less magnetic. And you won't reach anywhere near the numbers of people. You will not be as significant as you could be if you just identified a single person. And I know that's counterintuitive, but there's something really powerful about the energy in your language when you're talking to a single person in front of the camera. You speak differently to a single person than you do to groups. And I'm telling you, with that kind of clarity, your message will be more magnetic to people way beyond the scope of who you identified as the single person that you want to help. So hopefully that makes sense. This is one of the things that most people resist. They're like, no, but my message can help everybody, or I don't know who I want to target first. I get that. If you want to stick around for Q&A in a few moments, I can help you answer some of those questions. But I can tell you, I did that unintentionally in 2007. That's why we crushed it in our business. And as soon as I stopped speaking to a single person, my business just it started to leak water. And 2 years later, I filed bankruptcy. So I am really passionate about this because of my bankruptcy experience. I'm really passionate about this because I had to fire my employees, people that I talked out of their jobs. I'm so passionate about this because of what it did emotionally to myself. There's 2 years of pain wrapped up in that lesson right there. That's why I'm really incredibly passionate about this. And I guarantee you it will change the game for everybody when you start having magnetic, clear language. And as soon as you figure out who your seeker is, now you just find out, what are they starving for? What do they want? What is it that's missing in their life? What is it that they would write a blank check for? What is it that they would desperately want to get their hands on? And where are they? So when you get clear on who your seeker is and you find out what they're starving for, then you just give them what they're asking for. You serve them what they're starving for. And I know this is a chunked up conceptual framework because this is going to be different in every market. Some of your seekers, they might not do teleseminars. So for you to try to sell a teleseminar series to a person who doesn't like to listen on teleseminars, you're never going to be successful with that. For you to try to sell an online video course to people who don't like computers, people who are scared of technology, you're not going to win with that group. Some of your markets want their information delivered in physical DVDs they can plug into their TV. I will never do that. That's not my game because that's not my market. That's not how I would learn. But some of your people need that. Some of your people won't do anything unless it's online and it has an app associated to it and it's quick and deliverable and they can put it on their iPod and listen while they're on the go. If that's your seeker, then that's the way you have to deliver the information to them. So what I see is that most people are following these cookie cutter one-size-fits-all approaches, and they're not delivering the information to the people who need it in the way that they're asking for it. And so my experience is when you do that, the game changes because you got to remember, you are not the expert. Your seeker is the expert. They are the ones that know what they need. They are the ones that know how they want it delivered to them. They are the ones that know what they'll pay for it. They are the ones, when you get intimately involved, here's your most valuable piece of information. Your most valuable piece of information is your seeker's perspective. As soon as you get your seeker's perspective, you literally sit on an ATM machine. You sit on a gold mine. You can help tremendous amounts of people as soon as you get your seeker's perspective. But most people never spend the time to find out what their seeker's perspective is. And that's a huge mistake. When I teach my coaching programs, we spend hours on this foundational step. And a lot of people are really antsy. They're like, when are you going to teach me how to make products? When are you going to teach me a launch sequence? When are you going to teach me what to sell my programs at? And I'm always the one saying, calm down, we'll get there, but we're not going to get there until you're ready to get there. That's a conversation that will do nothing but derail your train right now. So let's get clear on who we're serving first, and then all of that stuff will illuminate itself, and you'll be able to go so much faster when you tap into your seeker's perspective. So I want to make this point again because it's not on my slides. I don't know that I've ever thought of this. Your most valuable asset as a business owner is the perspective of the person you are wanting to serve. As soon as you have that, everything changes. All your pricing, all your titles, the way you deliver it, everything changes. The way you need to market. Where are they? Are they on social media? Everybody's talking about social media right now. Some of your seekers are not on social media. So for you to pay what I just paid to have somebody set up a social media campaign would be an utter waste of your time because you can't get to your seeker. That's not where they are. So hopefully this is making sense. This is not a cookie cutter. This is what you have to do. This is a conceptual. These are the steps you have to take. And then once you have these steps taken, all of the details will take care of itself. I promise you. And really what it's about, and this is where all that foundational knowledge about how I, what my early moments were and how I started out and how Ann started out. This is why this is so important. This is going to take time, you guys. I don't know if it's going to take 2 weeks for you, if it's going to take 2 months. I think most people, it takes a few months from scratch to find their clicking point, to find that point that says, this is it. I got it. This is who I'm serving. This is what they want. This is the program that they're begging for. This is how I'm going to give it to them. Now, where are most of them? And you take that one program and you find where your seekers are all throughout the internet, in your local communities. When you hit that clicking point, you guys, and your business is foundational, but it's clearly focused. I have like 180 audio programs. And I'm not saying that to impress you because that's actually a pain point for me. I can't go out and sell 180 programs to people. I've spent most of my business just dropping seeds, like dropping crumbs on the ground, but I never had a cake. What I want to help people do is create the cake that their seeker is desperately wanting and then help them serve that cake everywhere they possibly can. So I want to help you create a focused, simple business plan that's unique to you, that has strategies that are dictated by your server, because that's when your clicking point will happen. And my experience is intuitively, most people don't want to do that. They want to jump to selling teleseminar programs. They want to jump way too far ahead. And if you do that, if you try to go fast in the beginning without doing the foundational work, I promise you, you're going to hit the brakes at some point in time. But if you do the foundational work, you can write your own ticket and you're going to pick up so much speed when you build a solid foundation. So I don't know if you can tell, how passionate I am about this, because this is the thing that I think all of us, even those of you that are in coaching businesses right now, if you're looking to launch a new product, if you're looking to, to go into a different industry, do this process, whether it's about launching a brand new business or it's about launching a brand new project. This will change the game for you. I promise you that. Or if you're doing really well, filter everything that you're doing through a lot of these things that I'm telling you, and I guarantee you it'll move the needle for you. So last thing on chasing and selling, this is about being 100% you. Don't try to be like anybody else. Don't try to be like Ann. Don't try to be like me. This is about being you. Foremost and forever, be you. And it's about falling passionately in love with your mission. I am now passionately in love with my mission. I wasn't always. Even when we were making a lot of money, I wasn't always passionately in love with my mission. But when you have that certainty and you have that clarity, it's so much easier to fall in love with what you do. And it's really about bringing your unique and distinct message to the world. You need to stand out and be bold and be brilliant. Don't try to be like somebody else. The world already has the marketing messages from other people. We need your fresh perspective. Even if your concept is not different, your perspective is new. And that's what the world needs. And you need to be distinct in this world, especially since everybody has access to as much information as they ever want. You need to be distinct in this planet, right? Don't just be another zebra with black and white stripes. I mean, let your stripes shine. So if you get nothing else but just the permission for being you, then, hopefully this has served you. And just as a recap, those are the transformations that we talked about, going from forwards to backwards, do it yourself to done for you, from chasing and selling to attracting and serving. And here's the most important concept I can leave you with. You know what? Go. Just go. Don't try to get it all, figured out and perfect from the beginning. You've got to go. You've got to get in motion. Most people are waiting to get it perfect before they get in motion. And that's one of the worst things you can do. You start pedaling. You can't learn to ride a bike unless you start pedaling. And when you start pedaling, you keep spinning. You can't make some of the changes that you have to make in your business unless you keep going. You keep taking shots. You've got to keep going. There's a book called Ready, Aim, or Ready, Fire, Aim. Get ready, but then fire. Fire, fire, fire. And you can learn how to aim along the way. So the bottom line is, you know what? Jump in. I mean, get out there. You can't learn to swim from the side of the pool. So whatever that means to you, that's my biggest wish, is that you leave this webinar with some inspiration or some nugget that you got, whether it's the information or whatever, that you give yourself permission to jump in. Now, I want to spend a couple minutes and share with you my mission. And I know you've been on the line for a long time. And first of all, Ann, I appreciate you for this, and everybody that's still on the line. I honor.
It's been great.
What's that?
It's been great. I've loved it. Yeah, I'm wondering because I'm sure there's people that want to know, okay, well, how can I work with you or whatever? Is that what you're going to go into now?
Yeah, exactly. This is my project. I talked about what I think is missing in the industry. And so what I've created is the Full-Time Coach Project. This is my mission. This is what I want to use to build those 1,000 people who are doing this work full time. I want to help people do this work full time. And the Full-Time Coach Project is, let me go forward here. The Full-Time Coach Project, this is just what I've seen is kind of the missing link in the industry. And I'm not saying, that there's none of these concepts out there, but I really think there's a missing piece in the industry. And what I believe makes this project different are several things. Number one, it's really an extension of heart-centered work, right? And I want to create a community more than just teach tools. And I think we need a support community when we get into this game. And, I've been doing work with Jack Canfield for a long time. And that's the people that I really want to spend time with is, that's the foundation. I am offering founding memberships actually in this project. And what that means is you get a chance to co-create it. And I'll explain in details what that means. But you get a chance to co-create this project. I want you to tell me what works. I want you to tell me what doesn't work. I want you to tell me in the website that we give you if there's things that, if there's bugs in the system. I want you to tell me if my videos don't make sense. I want you to tell me, how can we create the best thing out there? And it also has a just for coaches spin on everything. Like there's a lot of internet marketing, really good concepts out there, but you know what? It just doesn't work for the coaching industry. You have to translate it. So I'm doing all the translating for you. Everything is just for coaches. And then I also have what I call a just do this framework. I want to teach you, okay, forget about all the stuff that might be overwhelming you. Just do this. Each one of my sessions is like a module. I'm going to give you some home play assignments, and whether it's one assignment or 3 assignments, it's just do this. As soon as you do this, now we can go on to the next step. And I think what happens is too many people try to do too many things all at once, and that's what creates all this overwhelm. But what I want to give you is something that's simple. It's layered strategically from the ground up, from a brand new coach's perspective. How would we start from the beginning? Now, if you've already been in this game for a while, then it'll help for you to take a beginning approach and just make sure that you've got everything clear. And maybe you're going to jump through some steps because you already have that handled. But I guarantee you there will be tremendous value with you taking a look at everything you do from a beginning mentality. And the other thing is I am all about implementation. I've been telling you that. So most of my energy is spent on you implementing the work, not me selling you the work. I really truly don't care if you buy, my stuff, my information. What I care about is, do you implement it? So you get a support community. You get me on the phone every month helping you. What's going on? What's not working, right? I want to help you implement this because my mission is to help people succeed in this game. It's not to sell a bunch of products in this game. So we spend more energy with the implementation piece. And if this is speaking to you, if you've got a lump in your throat or you want to be one of those 1,000 people or whatever, for whatever reason, this has got your heart or your intention, you can go to this website, or I'm actually going to take you there now. So if you're not in front of your computer, or obviously you're in front of your computer, but if you don't want to go to the website, or if for whatever reason you just don't want to look at that now, I'm going to take you to the website. And here's the website. And I just want to kind of walk you through. I want to spend a couple minutes walking you through this. As I say at the top, I'm on a mission, and I want to help 1,000 people do this work full time. I've got this little guy here with the red cape, and he epitomizes what I think coaches are. I mean, on some level, we are sort of superheroes helping people, helping people change their lives. But here's the full-time coach project. If this is something for you, it's a full-time marketing system. It's not just information. It's not just a website. It's not just a series of tools that you have to put together. It's a system that has already been put together. And you have to customize it for your world and for your message. But I want to take as many variables out of play as I possibly can for you. So there's going to be this just do this approach. Just do this approach. You're going to have access to this information as long as you live. So you can go at your own pace. You can go back and relearn whatever you didn't learn. There's going to be times when I'll do tutorial videos on how to set up any of the technology, how to edit conference calls, how to edit videos if you have certain programs, if you want to do simple uploading, and how to put stuff up on YouTube. And I'm going to give you a bunch of tutorial type videos of how to do this. You're going to get the monthly mentorship calls with me personally, like I mentioned. And what that's going to look like is we're just going to get on the phone and I'll answer whatever questions you have live. And if that means I look at your particular website, then great, we'll do that. Whatever that looks like. And the big thing is you're going to have a support community, right? I'm not going to really go through a lot of these details. You can read this on your own, but just as an example, the first phase, we've got to do the foundational work. We got to find out who your seeker is. We got to find out who you are. We got to find out what your mission is. We have to find out, what is it that we can offer that's a solution in the marketplace. And without doing that foundational work, it doesn't matter if you put up a website. It doesn't matter if you learn how to do Twitter and Facebook. It doesn't matter if you learn how to do a video launch. You're not offering anything that anybody's interested in. You're not offering a magnet that people are drawn to, that people are attracted by, and a magnet that they actually helped you co-create. But when you do that, then all of those tools actually mean something, right? So the next phase is to build that platform. It's to get visible. And one of the things that I have in this program is you're actually going to get an entire website. And this website is a skeleton, basically. So I have a web guy, and I've basically what I've done is we've created a template. You can see this here. And this is a very naked template, but we've created a template based on what websites need to build communities. In today's world, it doesn't matter if you have a website that looks bright and shiny and is really cool. What matters is, do you have a website that you can create a community with and engage people with? And what I love about the guy that built this site is he's a marketer. He's not just somebody that knows how to build sites. He's a marketer. So everything on the site is strategic. It's positioned appropriately and purposefully. There's a reason that there's only one box to enter your email in, because studies show that about 10% of the people will not enter your community if you ask them to give you their name and their email. But if you just ask them for their email, you're going to have more people that join your community. There's studies that show that you need your free thing, whatever it is, right there on the very top across the page. There's studies that show that these are the tabs that people want to see. So this whole website is really a system behind the scenes. And what you're also going to get is you're going to get a template to fill in all of these blanks. Like, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do an about me story so that you're not trying to impress people, but you're actually connecting with people. I'm going to show you what should be in your blog post. How do you market with your blog? What's going to be on your contact form, right? We have a free coaching session page already designed for you. These are the things you should ask people now you can customize all of this. And when you customize the site, it's not going to look like this. It's going to look something more like this. This is one of his customized sites. It's going to look like your banner. It's going to have your logo. It's going to have a video if that's best for you. So it's going to be completely filled in. You're going to learn how to change the colors. You're going to learn how to customize this as much as you can. And actually, Mark, who did this website, he's going to give you an hour of his time to help you customize all of that stuff. So here's my goal. My goal is to give you something that absolutely works and to take as many variables out of play to teach you what you need to learn so that you can get going, right? And this is just one of the things that I think is missing in the world today. One of the things that a lot of people do is they go out and they get a website. And to be honest, most websites are not effective. They're pretty, but they're not effective. They don't build communities. They don't know what people look at as soon as they get onto a page. They don't know where to take them. So I know I'm spending a little bit of time on this website, but I think this is one of the most valuable things you can have. And I just asked Mark today, how much would you charge to do that website? And he said it's a $3,000 website. But what you're getting is not just the website being built, because you can go on Elance and build a website if you know exactly what to tell people, what to do. But what you're getting is the marketing behind it. You're getting the systems. You're getting knowing where to take people. As soon as they opt in, where do they go, right? So anyway, I get super excited about this. But phase 2 is all about creating the visibility. And that's when you're going to learn about the social media stuff and where should you take people? Where should you put them on your page? And after they join, where do they go after that? And you're going to learn a lot of the technology stuff. You're going to learn about building an online system, one shopping cart, email systems, and all that. Now, if any of you already have this, then you can just learn from the systems, or maybe you just validate that everything you have in place is great. And what Mark offered to do is then just have a 1-hour consultation with you where he just looks at your site. If you feel like you have all this stuff, then he'll just look at your site and give you his time on what he can help, tweak with you, for you. So that's phase 2. And then phase 3 is all about, let's get out there. Let's get profitable. Let's make products. I'll teach you the 12 pillars of persuasion, what every sales conversation has to have. We'll talk about building offline. We'll talk about building online. But without those 2 foundational pieces, then all of these strategies really don't matter. And I got to tell you, this is what most people sell, and this is what most people buy. Most people buy the phase 3 stuff. And I can tell you, without phase 1 and 2, phase 3 is going to be, it's going to be like a wet newspaper. I promise you that. You're not going to get the maximum value and the benefit from that you could unless you do the foundational stuff first. So you can read more about that. I want to tell you about the founding members bonuses. You're going to get that customizable website that I talked about. You're going to get a 1-hour consultation about strategies and systems with Mark that I just mentioned. It's a $500 value if it was just that alone. You're going to get 12 free months of my continuity program where you're going to get all the support and all kinds of, I call it the coaching community of awesomeness. You're going to get 12 months of that support for free. You're going to get all of my personal development products and events for free too, because what I know is that what most people allow to hold them back are their fears, their pains, their irritations, their limiting beliefs. And that's really what I've spent the last 7 years teaching. That's my business. My business is helping people get over themselves, helping people get over their fears. So if you learn all the tactical stuff about building a business, but you're still afraid to speak, you can't win this game. If you're still afraid to have exposure, to have spotlight, you can't win this game. So I want to give you everything that I've spent the last 7 years of my life learning and teaching about how to clear your internal obstacles as well. So you're going to get all of that for free. You're going to get 12 months of my Eagles Club membership, which is an ongoing personal development program for free. You're going to get lifetime access to any upgrades we ever do. If we add things to the website, you're going to get upgrades to it. You're going to get lifetime access to all of our forums and our communities. You're going to get, early announcements. You're going to get everything I can possibly throw at you for being a founding member. Now, the other thing that I'm going to give you is now let me be quite clear. I'm going to offer you some fast action taker bonuses, some fat bonuses that I call them. And here's the reason. I want you to do this. I'll just be upfront and honest. I want you to do this because I know this will change the game for you. I know this will help you move the needle a lot faster in your business. It'll help you serve more people. So I want to give you some incentive for that. And part of my incentive for tonight is that the first 3 people that raise their hand and say, yes, I'm in, I want to spend extra time with you personally. So you're going to get 3 hours of private coaching with me. And we could do that in the beginning when we're talking about your message, your seeker, your foundation. We can do that after the entire program's over. So we can talk about more of the advanced marketing campaigns or, going out and creating joint venture partnerships. Wherever that's most useful to you, you have access to me for 3 hours, however that looks to you. That in itself is going to be worth more than the whole program. I'm also going to give you 90-minute charisma consultation with a guy named Romeo, who's my video guy. He's an acting coach. He helps people become compelling and magnetic and really super charismatic on camera. And that's one of the things that you pretty much have to do nowadays is have some kind of video. So you got 90-minute consultation with him. You got a full 60-day money back guarantee. And here's my guarantee. If you don't like it, I'll pay you money for trying. If after 60 days, anywhere in there, you say, you know what, this is not what you told me it was going to be. This is not helping me. I'll refund all your money, no questions asked, and I'll give you $100 on top of it. I want people that are serious about this mission. And so if it feels like I'm just piling it on so that you'll buy, that's true. That is true. Because I want people who really are ready to take this mission to the next level, to really make this a revolution. So here's the full-time coach project. I'm offering founding memberships right now for $1,000. And I can tell you, when this thing is completely built and all the kinks are ironed out, this is going to be at least a $3,000. I mean, can you imagine a $3,000 or can you imagine a marketing system already built, websites already done, autoresponders already written? I'm giving you everything. I'm taking away as many variables as I possibly can. That's at least a $3,000 system eventually. But here's what I'm offering for founding members. I'm offering founding memberships for $1,000. There's a 3-payment plan on that if you need the payment plan. But here's the thing. I'm asking you for an agreement because I really truly don't care that you just buy stuff. I want you to implement. So here's my founding member agreement. If you do this, you're going to get 50% discount at least. That's when I thought it was $2,000 before I made the website even better. In this case, it's 67% discount, but you're going to get a huge discount. But here's what I'm asking for you in exchange. You have to implement this. I don't want your money if you're not going to implement this. I truly don't care about that. If you implement this, I want you to share your stories with people, whether that looks like a testimonial for me or you just share your stories on our Facebook group or whatever that looks like. And I want you to give me your feedback on what works, what would work better. I want to iron this out. My goal is in the next few months, because of my founding members, I create the best thing out there for new coaches. And I need help. I need you to implement it, and I need you to tell me what works and what doesn't work. And then I also want this to be a community of giving, whatever that means to you. If that means you give back financially, or if that means you just share your information with other people, whatever. I want this to be a truly transformational community. I want to start a ripple that can be felt, throughout the entire industry, the entire world. And I know that's a big flag to plant in the ground, but I mean that's what I truly want. And we already talked about the guarantee. The fat bonuses are 3 hours with me and 90 minutes with Romeo for the first 3 people. So that's the full-time coach project. And I told you before, I want to create 1,000 people who are doing this work full-time. If this is not for you, awesome. I hope something in this webinar gives you some nuggets that you can go implement, conceptual shifts, tools, whatever. There's tremendous value in some of the slides that I shared. So hopefully, you've gotten some value out of this. And if it's not for you, I honor you and thank you for taking the time to spend with us. If it is for you, then let's go. If it resonates with you and you want to be a part of that mission, then let's go. So, I'm going to recap with something that I said earlier, and this will be it, and we'll take some Q&A. This journey is not going to be easy. I can promise you that. But here's what I know. It's going to be worth it. And I know Anne would probably talk to the point of tears, as would I, of the people whose lives have been changed and what it means in our life to be able to do this work full time. And so it won't be quick. It won't be easy. My goal is to make it as simple as possible, but it will be worth it. And I will be there. And people like Anne, there are people who are there to help you when you fall down. So if you want a copy of all of these slides and stuff, just send an email to this website or to this address, Sean@coachseansmith.com. I'll shoot you over the attachment of the resource that I talked to you about, and I'll make sure that you get a link to the actual recording of the slides. So I know I went.
Sean, what's the website for people to sign up if they want to do that? I couldn't even find it myself. So
okay, cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
The full-time coach project.
Thank you. I didn't even explain that very well. fulltimecoachproject.com/FTCP, which stands for Full-Time Coach Project.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's where they can go and register, get in, be one of the first 3 people. I'm already having people text me because they want to be one of the first 3 people. So
yeah, and if that's for you, then awesome. I'd love to play with you. So let's go. And if you have any questions for me, you can type them in right here. And I just want to say, I don't know that I've ever finished a presentation on time, and I apologize for that. I've got coaching clients that have already called me, but I just, hopefully the passion comes out, and my mission is really just to impart whatever I can with as many people as possible. So if this project ends up not being for you, and there's another way I can serve you, then great. But if you really want to jump in and get there as quick as possible, then let's go. I'll invite you into the community with and let's just go. So let's take Q&A. I'll leave this slide up in case people want to. I don't know if it's clickable on anybody else's screen, but I'll leave this slide up for a little bit. But if any of you have questions, then ask them. Let me know, and I'll answer as many as I can before I have too many clients backed up here. So if you have a question, raise your hand, and I will unmute you, or you can just type it in the box here. So I have a question from somebody. She says, "Can I join anytime?" Yeah, I'm not the kind of guy that says, "Hey, cart's closing in 24 hours." The urgency is that you've got the fat bonuses for the first 3 people that get in, and the real urgency is just how long do you want to, do you want to delay it? But if you have to wait till next month to make a payment or whatever, I'm not going to, I don't create false scarcity. I don't say, hey, we're going to close the doors when this is something you can join at any time. So honestly, yeah, you can join at any time. But the only thing that I will hold true on is I will hold true to the fast action bonuses, and I will honor the first 3 people with 3 hours of my time. So that's how I work there.
Sean, what's your email again?
My email address is Sean, which is SEAN, at CoachSeansmith.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. CoachSeansmith.com. And actually, that's what somebody said. Can you give me the email? I will put this up on the replay. I will actually put the replay of this on this very same page. Once I get it up on YouTube and everybody can watch it, I'll put it up right on this very same page. And so that's where people can go home, or can come back rather, and listen to it. Cool. Somebody said, "Thanks for saying this because it's exactly how I've felt, but I've doubted it because 99% of everyone says it has to be the other way." I'm not sure exactly what we were talking about, whether it's like the product funnel or whatever. And I just think it's so dangerous to follow the path, to follow the herd. It's really dangerous. So let's see.
Yeah. I mean, I really, really appreciate you making this offer. I don't know how many people were on it, were my certified coaches or who have gone through my program. But I mean, I definitely go through marketing, but I tell them, okay, we're scratching the surface. And I
Yeah.
also tell them, you need to dive into these deep. And I mean, I'm just going to say flat out, I mean, you guys, this is a screaming good deal, and I would do it. Absolutely do it. I mean, that these are the things that you need to be successful, and why, go try and reinvent the wheel. I mean, I wish I would have had something like that 4 years ago when I started. I mean, I've learned a lot of this by now, but it was through a lot of trial and error myself, and I don't know. So that's awesome that it's all kind of in one place. And, like you said, it's still going to be work. You definitely have to put in the work, but to just have that resource of someone who's done it, and do it in modules, do it in phases. Here's your next thing.
Yeah,
So
I'm glad you
thank you.
said that. I mean, yeah, that's part of my mission is to create something I wish I had.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't even mention this. I have the first 10 modules already planned. We started this 2 days ago. So the first module on creating your seeker, just this is only 3 days old. So everybody can get the replay of that and really get caught up. The next module is not till October 11th. But I only have the first 10 planned, and I don't know how long this is going to be. I mean, I'm committed to making this the best thing out there. And if people are saying, how do I do this and how do I do that? And if this ends up being a 6-month project with 30 modules, that's fine. I'm committed to that. So I honestly don't know how long it's going to be. I'm just committed to creating the best thing out there based on what people tell me they want. And that might sound crazy for me to sign up for that game, but that really is what I want based on what you just said. It's I want to create what I wish I had.
Right. Yeah, and you'll charge more for it down the road. But so people that get in now, man, they're getting a screaming good deal, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The
Come on,
website
say
itself, like
yes.
I said, the website itself, that's a $3,000 website. And if
Right.
I had a website, and I've paid probably $10,000 on my websites, and I'm sure you have too, or at least a lot
Yeah.
more money than this. And I created a deal with this guy that said, hey, I'm going to bring people to you. I'm going to pay for you to create this template. So I've paid him up front. I'm going to pay for you to create this template. And I want you to give this template to my people that join in this program. And so that's where we're at. He's gotten his money. But I want this to be an implementation strategy that absolutely changes the game for people. So yeah, it's as neutrally as I can be. It's a freaking awesome deal.
Good.
With the support, and that's my commitment to as many people as want to play. So I
Yeah.
don't see any more questions coming in. If there are any more questions coming in, I'm more than happy to answer. Okay, here's a question. It says, can this work for network marketers? Yes, this guy has actually created some websites for network marketers. It's going to be different. You have to make some tweaks, obviously, because you're not selling professional coaching. But the same marketing systems that work for anybody works for everybody, right? And there are people that are really doing tremendous work in the network marketing industry who have decided to learn the world of Facebook advertising and catching putting people in a community instead of just giving them a one-time only opportunity presentation and having them say no, right? So these principles and concepts absolutely work. And I think what would be great is if when you spend your hour with Mark, you tell him what you want and he would just customize it for your particular company, for your message, and you could create a community of people who are interested rather than just push on them one time only. And that's one of the big reasons that a lot of network marketers don't succeed, is because it's just a bunch of one time only opportunity calls or opportunity meetings, and it's not utilizing the power of what we know works in today's world with today's technology and today's communities. So you'll absolutely change the game with this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying you you change everything that you do and only do this. This is a complementary, supplementary process that you use to just create a bigger funnel of interested people. That's the bottom line. We got to create a bigger funnel of interested people.
Nice. Well, Sean, I so appreciate you doing this. This was incredibly valuable all the way around, from the content delivery to just your enthusiasm, your passion for this, and wow, the offer too. I mean, that's a great deal, and for people that want more of Sean, more of what he's about, what you can learn and be inspired, from him with. So thank you for taking the time to do this. I mean,
Oh, of
that's
course.
that's
And
a lot of time out of your. I know you're a busy guy, so I really, really appreciate it.
yeah, I've got to call a couple clients and apologize to them profusely. So this will probably cost me a few extra hours of coaching. But
No, sorry about
no.
that.
It's nothing to apologize for, because I mean, this is my mission, and this is what I really want. I spent a lot of time building a coaching business, and I want to help people build their own coaching businesses so that they can, so that we can just help more people. So however we can do that, then awesome. Um, and yeah, and I'm sure it's not the last time that we play together, and because I love you and your work and what you do and the people you attract. So I'm sure this is
Yeah,
just the beginning.
yeah, this is the beginning. We'll brainstorm some new things. I already have a couple things in mind, so this is great. So everyone, thank you for, sticking around with us, and we'll see what we can do about getting this a replay or something so that those, that missed it. I've had quite a few texts saying, "Oh, I'm going to miss the end. How do I get on?" So we'll try and get that. And also, if you guys know people that might be interested, let's get you the link and get this passed out to other people who might be interested in this. So again, Sean, thanks so much for your expertise and your willingness to teach others.
Absolutely. However I can help. So good night, everybody, or good afternoon, or good day, or whenever you're listening to this or watching it. And go out there and share your message with the world. You are divinely obligated to do that.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.